And greetings, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Dreamscapes. Today we have with us our friend Gunnar from the north end of the UK, and we're going to talk about his dream. So I'll just throw it over to you, Gunnar. Anytime you're ready, lay it on me.
Hello, I'm Gunnar, and I apologize for being awkward. So I'm gonna start right away with the dream. Okay, I posted my dream on the r/dreams subreddit, and I put it there. Let's start.
Mhm.
This dream is reoccurring like every 30 to 40 days. It happened to me for almost 5 times. It all starts the exact same. Super dark face, two bright eyes, and a crooked smile. These are the only features that you can see 100%. The first time when I saw it, it's just that face, nothing else. Nothing happened. But then, skip to a few months later, with the last dream that I posted on the Dream subreddit. That face told me that humans could have changed the course of the Earth with one move, but we weren't strong enough. He told me to open my eyes and watch. When I opened my eyes, I woke up for some reason in World War II, in a half-destroyed house in Germany. And there was another person who was with me wearing a mask covering half of his face. I asked, "What's wrong? What's going on?" And he told me that the Germans started World War II, and I said, "Are they called Nazis?" He told me, "No, they're called Children of the Sun and Moon." And I asked, "Is their leader called Adolf Hitler?" He said, "What? No, I'm Adolf." And that sick bastard is called. I didn't hear what he was called. That army had like steampunk slash cyberpunk vehicles. The look super rustic, like roaring engines. These vehicles were roaming the streets, and out of curiosity, I asked, "Did you go to art school as a joke?" He said, "Yeah, yes, I did." The weird thing is that this is the part that changed everything. Like I knew something happened. That the skies are still fractured and had blood red skies instead of blue. The corpses on the ground were super weird looking. They looked like semi-humans. I can't describe how they looked, but they didn't look 100% human and not human. It's just like something hybrid.
Okay.
To be honest, this is the last dream that I wrote right now, and I'm gonna search for the other one. I apologize.
Was that one entire dream? Did you wake up after seeing the kind of semi-human corpses?
Yeah, the thing that woke me up, I felt like I fell from a really high place. Like I woke up shaking. I was confused because the dream that I had like few before it, like the sky was fractured.
Okay. So
And okay,
one thing we may not have discussed previously. So for those watching, I do a little kind of pre-interview. We talk about some things, the process, how it's going to go, ethical concerns, and I usually mention that people can pick whatever dream they want, but especially when it comes to, say, recurring dreams, I like to stick to one complete instance and go through that in detail. And then kind of after we've done that, maybe go back and reference some of the other similar dreams. But in what I've discovered through my process is that maybe trying to analyze multiple different recurring dreams at once doesn't work as well. So not to cut you off or limit what you're sharing with me, but if this represents one full dream, is it okay to just focus on that first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Good deal. And as far as your description, you felt like that was as much as you could remember off the top of your head. That's the full content beginning to end.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we got through the dream. So as usual, it's just the telling me the story takes like 5 minutes, and then going back through it takes an hour. Sorry about that.
Wait, it's been an hour?
It's been grand total of an hour since we started. It doesn't hardly feels like it, right? We're just really focused down on this experience. And I mean, I've had some of these videos go 40 minutes. Sure, we talk about it quick, bing bang boom, it's over. I've had some go 2.5 hours. It's completely random. It depends on how much content there is, how much we get sidetracked talking about just interesting stuff. So we've gone through, you told me the dream and I wrote it down. We've gone through a review of my notes and more, like phase 2, let's drill down. Let's get a little more specific about the chronology, about the sights and sounds. And before I get into trying to offer my impressions, I like to ask people, okay, now that we've gone through it twice and in great detail, do you have, or did you experience during that process, insights, connections, eureka moments that gave you additional understanding from your own perspective?
To be honest, all I felt was I felt fear. I was scared for my life. It felt so real. If I get hurt there, I might get hurt in real life. That's how it felt. That's how realistic it felt.
Okay, and that's that is an impression or the experience you had during the dream. But now you're after the dream and you're looking back on it, and we've gone through it in all these details. In the process of pulling out these extra details in the sequence of events, did anything occur to you about the meaning, about why that particular image occurred? Or you don't have to have an answer, but I like to ask people if they had their own thoughts first before I start making suggestions, because I don't want to put ideas in your head if you already have your own.
To be honest, in my opinion, like, it's like the butterfly effect. Like
the movie?
No, it's like when you change, one thing, it can branch out to 1,000 branches. Like each branch has like a timeline on its own.
Okay. That is interesting. Yes, I do. So I mentioned the movie because that's actually the movie explores that concept. But you're talking about more just the general concept. A butterfly flaps its wings in Australia. There's a hurricane in Thailand, and they're connected.
Yeah.
But it's that small event that then sparks something else that makes a big change or big effect on far away. And that's kind of the feeling that's a concept that comes to mind in relation to this dream.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Very interesting. Yeah. Well, maybe now would be a good time to talk about, say, how some of the other similar reoccurring dreams changed over time, brought you to this one. What would be your thoughts on that? Or
okay.
Yeah.
Currently, I only have like 2 dreams that I submitted to r/dreams.
Okay.
That thank God that I wrote, because I I've 3/4 of all of the dreams, but these specific things.
Sure. And we don't have to get too specific into every little detail of those other dreams, but just broadly, how did it progress? How did it change? Like, where did it start? You said like the first one was just the face and you woke up, nothing else. And then how about the next one, the one after that?
Okay. After that, it felt like it's like really in the past. It felt like really, really old times. And like I can see like a Colosseum.
Okay.
It felt, yeah, that old.
Did you also have experiences with the face speaking to you, or that didn't
Yeah,
happen until the most recent dream?
no. Every single dream, all my recurring dreams that I'm talking about, it's starts with that face.
Okay. And does it always say the same thing to you?
No. Uh, the dream I'm talking about right now, it didn't say anything.
Okay, so just the face, same expression,
Yeah,
and it pops you into another historical event or
yeah,
time period.
yeah, basically. In a really old place, conf- and the skies were normal. That's one of the changes that will happen in the future.
So in this
Uh,
second instance, which was the first time you were then, say, thrown into an alternate time or place,
yeah.
was it also a war setting?
No,
Okay.
it felt peaceful. It
Okay.
felt like super peaceful. Like you can hear children laugh. For some reason, I actually could smell flowers. I don't know why.
Okay. That's a pretty rare phenomenon in dreams in general. Like most people see images. Some less people also hear sounds. Less people also hear. I'm sorry. Smell anything. Less people taste anything. And what was it? Almost nobody. No, I got that all wrong. Anyway, like smell and taste are at the bottom of the list. It's usually seeing, hearing, or touching things, but smell is very, very rare. So, anyway, I spent too long talking about something, but it just surprised me. Like,
Yeah,
you smelled something in your dream. That's fantastic.
yeah. It smelled like pleasant.
Yeah, yeah. All of these ideas reinforcing that this is a good place, a nice place, a place
Yeah,
you would want to be, or maybe a place worth preserving in its goodness all around. So you got those sights and smells to reinforce that. Um,
yeah, basically. But unfortunately, I don't have a continuation to that dream because I forgot the rest of it because
that's
I've been
okay.
woken up really fast.
Yeah, no problem. And then how about the next one? How did that play out? Just
Okay,
in general.
this is the creepiest one because it felt so wrong. There's nothing like super serious,
Sure.
but it felt so wrong.
It was a
Uh,
feeling of wrongness, do you say? It felt wrong
no,
or
it
long?
just felt like there's something wrong here.
Something wrong. Okay.
It's not right.
Okay. So then in the second one,
Uh,
again the experience of the face, and then you're in a place where something felt wrong.
yeah,
What was the kind of place?
but this dream where he started talking, that face.
Okay. Do you
That's
remember
why I said it felt wrong.
roughly what it said?
No.
No.
Uh, oh, I heard you. I heard you say, "Was it rumbling?" Sorry. Uh, yeah, I heard what it said.
What did it say this time? The
That's
first time it spoke?
one second.
Sure.
Sorry. Okay. That face, but it talked for the first time. It said, "Humans made a mistake." I asked, "What did we do?" It said, "You shouldn't have killed him." Uh, Now I'm confused about what it's talking about, and it said, "I'll let you witness what happened."
Okay.
All I heard was a snap and saw they were crosses, and people were watching what's going on. That's why I'm telling you it felt wrong.
Okay. So it put you
Uh,
into a time. Did you get a? I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is Jesus. Is that you felt like you were being shown the death of
that's
Jesus?
what I'm gonna talk about. That's what I'm gonna talk about.
Okay, go ahead.
Uh, and I posted this 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Uh, when you like imagine people when Jesus was there at that time, you'd see their old clothes, mostly poor people,
Sandals and robes.
and yeah,
Yeah.
and you can see the Romans. Romans, I think. I'm not a history buff.
I think that's accurate. Yeah.
The red robe and the brass chest shield.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very identifiably like Roman soldiers at the time.
That's what I remember.
Gotcha.
All
Gotcha.
I heard was a snap and some that there were crosses and people were watching what's going on, and I saw that most recognizable death in history.
Yeah.
Now I'm still confused and asked, why did it show me that? It said, watch. As the spear stabbed Jesus, literally everything was normal. But the sky turned blood red.
Okay.
That's why I told you this is like related to a past dream.
Gotcha. And it's the same then red sky you see in the later dream looking out of
Yeah,
the fractured building. Okay. Was there
you can.
a third dream that came between that one and the next one?
No. I can't remember. I'm
That's okay.
sorry.
Yeah, either you can or you can't. It's not critical.
You can hear the horns from the sky. The earth was shaking, screaming, cries everywhere.
And this was in
You
the
can,
in the crucifixion dream after the spear
yeah,
pierce turned red and you hear horns in the sky and the earth shaking.
yeah. Not like at that same moment. There was like like a few seconds after, like his blood like seeped on the spear.
Uh
Everything went to shit.
huh.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Uh, you can hear screaming, cries everywhere. You can see the sky splitting up. This is where the fractures I was talking about.
Okay.
Uh, that's all I remember, to be honest. That's what I wrote too.
Okay, fair enough.
Uh,
Now adding in that additional context of kind of the sequence of events, are you getting any other impressions of broad meaning themes? Again, I'm not trying to put this all on you, but I don't want to start suggesting things when maybe you've got the beginnings of an idea we should focus on, and I can help you develop it, or you got nothing, and I'll just start throwing my ideas at you. It's completely up to you.
it it felt like uh, I'm not 100% religious, but
Hmm.
it felt like God was a bit merciful on us after Jesus died,
Hmm.
after the crucifixion, because what I think, if he wasn't merciful, that would happen. Like this guy splitting up, the horns of the apocalypse will start, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that is
That's what
exactly
it
what it
felt
sounded like.
like.
Yeah, for sure. And then relating that, I mean, now that you kind of think of it in context, does the face that you're scared of, the face in the dark, the blood red eyes, and kind of the crooked, dirty smile, does it have a godlike feeling to it, or
No,
something else?
it felt like, I don't know how to explain that feeling. A close friend, but a hated enemy.
Interesting.
That's what it felt like. It felt like I can tell him my deepest, darkest secrets, but I still hate him.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. That's I kind of get that impression too. That this is when you say close friend, you almost feel there's something familiar about it. There's something you understand about it. It's like a known thing, even though it also feels like something dangerous and something you should be afraid of. Does that make sense?
It didn't felt like I'm gonna die if I speak to it. It didn't feel like 100% dangerous. Like
Yeah.
uh,
You described feeling
it's a
more
really weird feeling.
that the creature was, or the face was slightly on the angry side, but it was mostly this disappointment and definitely a feeling of judgment is what you were getting from it. That's why I kind of went to the God place, because I mean, and I don't want to put these ideas in your head, which is why I was asking about it, but it's definitely an extremely powerful supernatural force that can make your eyes open, take you through time, show you things. You had a
It
sense
didn't
of
feel like that. It really didn't feel like he's all powerful.
okay,
It felt like I don't even know how to explain it. It felt like he's just showing me. He didn't like 100% reverse time. He's like just putting me in the place of someone else
yeah,
and with watch through the eyes of that person.
okay, fair enough. Yeah, and again, this is why I don't want to put ideas in your head. If something resonates, if you're like, yeah, that's exactly what it is, fine. If it's not, then I'm wrong. But I think there is something important about you creating this image, and this image having these qualities, and these qualities of the thing making it want to show you specific things historically, and how things could have been different. So it doesn't have to necessarily be God or an agent of God or anything related to God. But it is definitely something supernatural that has power, and has the what am I trying to say? It's something that exists outside of being human. You didn't get the impression that it
Yeah,
was human, and
it
that
wasn't.
yeah, and that it is not only capable of observing, but has its own ideas of what is good and right, and it's looking at our history and our choices with judgment, and it's trying to help you understand why it reached that negative judgment of you screwed up.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
Uh, like it felt like a spectator. Like a football or basketball spectators, they would be just like shouting from the seats, telling them,
sure.
"Oh, you should have done this. Oh, you should have thrown that ball to the other person."
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Okay.
But
So
it didn't feel.
definitely an
Like
accurate observer, like an observer, but one that is seeing the truth and trying to share that understanding, that vision with you.
yeah,
Okay.
like it felt like they can see something else than like our outcome. Like the example of the basketball, when you are in court, you can't focus 100%
Sure.
on who's around you and who you can throw the ball. But if you're a spectator or watching from a TV, you can say, "Oh, that person is free, throw it to them." That's
Yeah.
what it felt like.
Gotcha. Like a neutral, a third party, not involved in the direct what's going on. Someone just able to see from the outside and has a
Yeah,
better view of the big picture.
yeah.
Yeah.
They can't do anything inside our bubble.
Hmm.
It's like from outside the bubble.
So you also had the feeling or impression that this thing was able to observe but not able to influence directly. It could show you things, but it can't
Yeah,
take a direct hand. It can just let you know. It could just convey information.
yeah. That's how it felt
Okay.
because, like I said, it put what I felt. It's like putting me like what I felt putting my soul into someone else to look through their eyes.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, but it didn't feel like he's taking my whole body and everything that
Moving you through
makes
time.
me. Yeah, it
Interesting.
didn't change the time. It just took my eyes and put them inside of like someone else,
Yeah.
to make me see from their perspective.
Very cool. Yeah. And I think there is something important also to the idea of the sequence of these dreams changing. Like the first thing it wanted to show you was a peaceful, ideal time before a mistake, before something went wrong that changed things for the worse. Then the next dream was here's the thing that happened that changed for the worse, and it was represented in this death of Jesus motif. And then the next dream it shows you again was, and here's the consequences. You've got
Yeah,
this war, so it seems to be developing. So if I were to try to put this in my understanding, this is all happening in your head. These are all representing how you look at the world and how you're trying to understand the world. So in a sense, the face is you, and you, and you are the characters in your dream in a lot of ways, or at least they represent different ideas in your head. So there's your waking mind that is you, that observes, analyzes, processes thoughts, tries to understand and come to conclusions. And then in your dreaming mind, you've got this kind of idea of a neutral third party observer that can give you yourself information, but then you have to take action. So it's disconnected. It's a part of you that's attempting to
like
be.
the subconscious.
It's a part of you that's an advisor, but is not the decision maker. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like follow your heart.
In a way, yeah. And this in a broad strokes, my impression of this kind of sequence of events is there's something going on that you're trying to understand, and you've got part of your mind saying, "Let me show you these things that relate to that problem," and it's thinking in metaphors about the type of problem you're observing and attempting to make a decision about, and you're trying to think your way through what is the nature of the problem and what is the consequences of my decisions. Is that kind of making sense in broad strokes?
Slightly.
Do you
It
have any
didn't feel.
do you have any events in the past month or two over the course of these dreams that is a kind of long-term ongoing unresolved issue in your life, something you're trying to take your time
Yeah.
thinking through?
mm, Yeah, I'm actually battling depression,
Oh,
and plus a death in our family,
yeah.
my grandma, and it's all like buried down inside, and I'm trying to like just like force a smile, but
Gotcha.
maybe like you said, my brain is like, wake up.
Maybe.
Uh,
Yeah, could be. It probably does want to. It wants a solution. I mean, what is it? Pain is a motivator, and like if you hold your hand over a fire, pain's going to let you know your body's being damaged, and the pain will keep getting worse until you take your hand out, until you make a change. Pain forces change. So if you're in pain, it's going to force you to focus on what is the cause emotionally, and how do I resolve it? How do I get out of pain? It's the reason pain exists, basically, is to motivate positive change. So did these dreams occur for the first time after the relative died, or after you realized you were struggling with depression?
No. I've been like that first dream. I actually had it when I was really young, and I was like 9 years old.
Wow.
But then it happened again, the exact same dream, like a few months ago.
Okay.
Like from that day till now, it's just like it's either no dreams or nightmares or this reoccurring dream.
Well, it seems so. So why do we have specific imagery in our dreams? It's generally related to something we're experiencing in real life, and it's our mind's representation of that idea. So there's probably something you experienced at around 9 years old that crystallized this face in your dreaming mind as representing something specific, and it came back now or recently because something similar to that representation is a more immediate concern. Does that make sense?
Not 100% sure. I'm sorry.
Yeah, my words fail me sometimes too. So let's say in a more concrete sense, just for an example, if you survive drowning 10 years ago, and that night you have a dream of an angel swooping down to lift you out of the water, and that's the dream image. 10 years later, you could have the return of that angel because you're having another life circumstance where you're not physically drowning, but it feels similar to being overwhelmed and helpless and suddenly being rescued. So sometimes those images in our dreams are representative of a concept and linked to some specific experience from the past. And then when a similar situation occurs again, that specific image comes back to say, hey, remember, this is just like that other thing in some way. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, it makes more sense, but unfortunately, I can't remember what
when you were 9 years
to
old.
Me when I was 9.
Yeah, and it didn't have to be something major. Like a lot of people think trauma has to be you survived a drowning, you survived kidnapping, you survived a divorce. It can just be a specific image that represents a concept in general. And from what I'm getting from you, this concept of the face is a neutral third-party judge, almost like when you pick a goal, it has certain conditions, and you know whether or not you achieve the goal based on whether or not those conditions are achieved. And that goal becomes a judge. It becomes a neutral third-party judge where, you know, if your goal is to run a mile, the judge is, did you get to the 1 mile point? And the judge is neutral. It just says you got here, you ran for a full mile or you didn't. And the judge doesn't care. It doesn't have a personhood. It's not a living thing. The judge doesn't care whether you ran the mile or not. It just tells you whether or not you actually ran the mile. Did you get to the goal? So it seems like this face is this neutral third-party judge, which is kind of why I relate it like a God-like figure. Like God is a judge. God judges, did you do good or bad? Did things work out well or not? Just that concept. But that's not how you're feeling it. So it doesn't have to have a religious context to it. But it does seem like a neutral third-party judge that is just trying to tell you there are choices. Choices have consequences. Here's and it's giving you this before the mistake, the act of the mistake, and the consequences of the mistake. Over across these 3 different dreams, and they're coming back because you're still processing the same concept broadly in your life. I ran out of words. I was going somewhere with that. What do you think? I mean, are you? And then you mentioned, when I said that, you mentioned depression and the death of a relative. How, when you kind of overlap those ideas, what I've been talking about and what you've experienced, does something make sense? Does it tickle a sense of meaning for you? Does something feel related, connected?
Yeah, because before the death of the relative, I mean, like I was already diagnosed with depression, and I always felt so low. But that death of that relative, uh, like pushed me down even under,
Yeah.
way under, and it felt like a struggle trying to come back up. And these nightmares started to get like creepier and worse. That's how it felt.
So,
It's like the teaching by fear. That's how I feel like.
okay. Was it after the death of this relative that the face took you to the crucifixion scenery?
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Okay, fair enough. And that makes sense. That's probably related. These are very impactful life events. Were close with this relative?
Yeah,
Or did you look to them
it's my grandma.
did you look to them as a source of wisdom, strength, stability in the world? Someone you could always turn to and they knew what to do. They would support you and give you good advice.
Yeah, if my mom or my dad like couldn't help me with something in life, like with my emotions, I would go to her and ask her.
So there was this, source of strength, reassurance, stability, and it was just suddenly taken away from you, leaving you less stable, less secure, less strong. No one less person to turn to if you had a
Yeah,
problem. Yeah, that's pretty traumatic. That's a huge thing, and that would definitely bring back the image of, say, this third party judge face that is fearful, not fearful, that you are afraid of disappointing in a way. I don't know if that makes sense. You don't fear being physically harmed, but you fear being judged insufficient,
N-
inadequate, false, wrong by this face.
no,
No?
like it feels like a bit of both.
Okay.
Like it's like you're just like looking at someone for a really long time without talking. You would feel like that creeped out, scared feeling.
Okay. It's just kind of staring at you like, what the hell?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
that what it felt like hours. Then the speaking talk, that face talks.
Okay.
Then when it talks, you would feel physical danger instead of mental danger.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, there is something almost magical about the act of speech, and it is an action. There's like, what am I trying to say? Since we're doing all kinds of biblical reference anyway, there's the spoken word being an act of creation in a way. Not only are you creating your thoughts into sound waves, but those sounds we make to each other have an impact on other people's emotions, their choices, their behavior. So, there's something different from going from thinking to speaking, which is an action, versus thinking, which is kind of an action, but it takes place in a place that is no place, so to speak. Ideas just exist separate from doing something physically. I was going somewhere with that too. But it is important that, yeah. So this face looks at you, sees you. It's an uncomfortable scrutiny. It's really just staring and looking at you, and then suddenly action. It speaks and things change. The scenery changes. your experience changes with that speaking. I think there's something in there. Yeah. And and I think there's something important to the sequence of events too, and there's probably, as you say, you're not particularly religious. You wouldn't consider yourself a Christian or anything?
I'm half Muslim.
Okay.
Yeah, not 100%. I still follow all the rules, but the other rules, I wouldn't follow them.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
But you don't, like some people's spiritual faith is extremely important to them. They have a strong feeling about it. You're kind of just going through the motions. This is my culture. This is what we do. But you don't particularly feel connected to it or feel like it's an important motivator for you?
No, I actually I pray a lot.
Okay.
I read the Quran every day. Pray every day. And continue praising the Lord every day, nonstop. It felt like something close to my heart. It's like feeling like talking to my grandma, but it's not like the exact same
Not the
thing.
same, yeah. God's not talking back. He can't hold your hand and tell you everything's going to be okay. Yeah. I hear you. Okay, well, maybe I think I just completely misunderstood. So your spiritual faith is important to you, but you're not a Christian. So this specifically Christian imagery of the crucifixion doesn't come from your specific religious tradition, but you're aware of it enough to know what it is, what it looked like, what happened. And it is interesting, though, that say you would be Muslim and your representation of this terrible mistake that upset the previously peaceful time and place came to you in this crucifixion idea of putting someone important to death, taking them out of the world. And I mean, the death of Jesus in that representation may have been directly inspired by the death of your grandmother, being someone who was a wise teacher, and she wasn't murdered, right? She just passed.
She passed away peacefully.
Yeah. I didn't, and so she wasn't. But I think there's probably something there of like the world took her away from you, in the same way the world took Jesus away, and things got worse afterwards.
Yeah, because I actually couldn't say goodbye for the last time because I was in the UK and she was back in the Middle East.
Gotcha.
The news, I received the news on the phone, and I wasn't there for the burial.
Okay. So you were physically separated, couldn't really come together with family to share that experience and say your final goodbyes. That's rough.
Yeah.
And
it's all and the dreams goes down from there. It gets worse and worse.
Yeah. It was very much a fracturing of your world. This concept, like your entire life you've had this person you could rely on, and now they're gone, and the world is broken. The world is different. The world is not what it used to be. Yeah. Now does that make a lot of sense to you? Why that imagery would come? Okay.
It actually makes a lot of sense.
That's good. That's all we're trying to do.
Like you said, the different world, it's like the fractured skies. It's like a broken heart because I couldn't see them when they were buried, stuff like that.
For sure. And then that brings us to, so we have kind of this three phase thing, like before the event, and then the consequences or outcome of the event. And that's the third dream, which we haven't even kind of come back to. So the face appears again. It takes you to now the consequences down the road, the after effect. And if we're thinking this is
the downfall.
Yeah, the downfall. And this is probably related to your most recent experiences as an after effect? What has your life now become after these events transpired? And it's taken you to a war. It's taken you to a familiar war. It's familiar, but it's different. It's not what you expected to see when you got there. There's characters there that are familiar but different. Also not what you expected, and that's surprising. Like, why are there this guy who's not the guy, and there's the vehicles, and they're weird, and there's these people, and it's the civilians, but that's not entirely human even. I think there's something relevant to all of these different aspects. I mean, I'd start with the idea that your touchstone, your reference point is the man looking out the window. This is the person you're having the interaction with, and it's literally Hitler. And but he's not Hitler. He's just Adolf the painter, and he's in this war that he didn't start, and he's not responsible for. And I think that's a significant difference too. And we were talking about that a little bit in terms of different choices having different outcomes, and even hopeful, aspirational parts of ourselves that even people who made terrible mistakes in the past could have been someone else if things had turned out differently.
Yeah, exactly.
How would you relate that to yourself in that regard of, like, are you having those questions of who am I now, and who do I choose to be? Am I going to make a mistake that's going to turn me into someone I don't want to be?
Yeah, actually. Currently, I'm almost 6,000 miles away from family and really close friends. Like, there's no one to turn to in the UK.
Yeah.
It feels like empty place for me, but I have to continue and move on, even if it's empty for me.
Okay.
It's just a taste, like it feels like bitter but sweet at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, there was a reason you moved there, and it's where you want to be, or where you feel like you should be.
Yeah, to study.
Gotcha.
I'm here studying abroad.
Okay, you're there going to school, and that's a positive thing, even if it's difficult to endure, because separation from family, isolation. Yeah. So there is. I just had a thought there too, that this fractured world, and now a fractured landscape, bombed out buildings, where people are peeking through curtains, and there's a lot of dead, and there's these weird machines moving around. That may be representing your current world, where everything is broken compared to how it used to be. It was very predictable, stable, familiar where you're from. You go to a completely new place, and even if the buildings aren't actually destroyed, it's not the world you knew. And so you're seeing it as this place that is broken compared to what you would have had experienced in the past as normal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense because this like last year I was living in the same place in the UK, and this year but a different building.
Okay.
It just feels like before it felt like it was a bit normal. It felt like it's like an everyday life.
Okay.
But after the passing of my grandmother, it just felt like it's all bitter. I've lost all my confidence in my emotions, in myself.
Gotcha.
But even though I had to keep on pushing so I don't lose myself to depression.
Yeah, that is very important. In some ways, human beings are like sharks. We got to keep swimming. If we don't keep swimming, we just die. So there's very much something important to that, the idea of you got to keep moving forward. Otherwise, stagnation is death, basically. So there's something important there. I don't know if you make anything of the idea that the particular group responsible for the destruction and the war itself in this most recent dream was called the Children of the Sun and Moon. Does that phrase mean anything to you? How do you what do you get from that when you think about it?
To be honest, I have no idea. It just felt like something wrong. Uh, like, in my opinion, it just felt wrong to like say it. Like, how? Well, like, who are these people? Why are they called the children of the sun and moon? Why is it? Why?
Yeah, there is something. It's a very self-important sounding title. We are these people, and this is our title, and we're the children of the sun. It's like very self-important, like granting themselves the authority to start a war because it's justified because of who we are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's actually a bit correct.
Okay.
It just feels like how do I say? It didn't feel like 100% an emotional thing. It just felt like pure an unadulterated instinct and rage. Because like when you see the bodies that I was talking about and the vehicles,
Mm-hmm.
it's all like blood, blood everywhere, like on the tanks, on the corpses.
And there is probably meaning to that idea of the contradiction between this self-important, self-aggrandizing title they gave themselves, and then look at what they did. They caused all this destruction of buildings and people, and everything's just ruined because these people thought they were right, and they're just hurting everyone. I think there's something in that concept to what you're experiencing lately.
Maybe self-destruction, like subconsciously.
It could be. It could also be maybe some elements of, I don't know if culture clash resonates with you. I mean, you're coming to a new place where they do things very differently in a lot of ways. And the people you're around are probably very certain that their way is right. And you're looking at it maybe as someone who's an outsider, or at least from somewhere else, from a different cultural perspective. And you're like, yeah, but that's not normal to me. And I'm not trying to put ideas in your head, but there's the thought.
It doesn't feel like that.
Okay. The thought occurred to me that there's some kind of culture clash might have happened where you're not hateful of, say, British people, but they do things very differently. And for their culture to be dominant, superior to the way you used to do things or what you're familiar with, may feel constraining or may feel like it's breaking down the world you knew. I don't know if that's getting anywhere close to anything.
No.
Okay.
It just feels like when you see it, you can tell this. They're doing it out of rage, anger, hate, stuff like that.
And that's not the feeling you get about British folks. They're not. They're not trying to inflict anything hateful.
They're the sweetest.
I know, right? Yeah. No, and I didn't mean to put that interpretation on top of it. I don't think you have any. I don't think this is coming from a place of disrespecting, say, British culture. I might have just been on the wrong track entirely.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
That culture clash can come up with some of these weird feelings where, even though there's nothing wrong with doing it a different way, it breaks down the stability of what you're familiar with in a way that looks like a crumbled world. That's nobody's fault. But what you got from the feeling of the motivation behind the Children of the Sun and Moon was they're out to do some harm. They're self-righteous in their goal, and they're gonna lay waste around them because they feel justified by whatever motivates them.
Yeah, just like even like the vehicles that they're driving. Yeah, you can see the splatter of blood.
Yeah,
Like you can see the corpses mangled. Some of them
yeah.
without heads. Some
Yeah.
of them are partially decapitated, stuff like
It's
that.
brutal.
It
Yeah.
just feels like carnage.
Yeah. Well, you and I might have made a mistake in not following your lead. You said something about self-destructive depressive urges, and that might actually be a better explanation. I wanted to rule out the cultural clash thing first before I got back around to that, but um, there may be something to that where there's, I mean, key or a primary characteristic of depression is suicidal thoughts. So, and
Yeah.
those suicidal thoughts are persistent and self-righteous in their own way. They're like, you should just die. This is hopeless. What are you waiting for? Why don't you just do this? Why don't you just commit this
Actually,
destruction?
that's actually the closest description to what it feels like.
Yeah.
Uh, like the blue people that I was talking about.
Yeah.
It felt like they looked peaceful, even though they looked like way different than what we look like as humans.
Yeah.
But you can see they're getting massacred. Like you can see all their corpses on the ground,
Yeah.
and you can see the other vehicle, like the vehicles, like just like driving, like pushing things away from them. Like,
Yeah.
oh, we don't care about this.
Just driving right
Just
over the
like
corpses. Yeah.
that's like like so close. Like I don't. That's the best description like we reached right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. You had a feeling of something important.
Yeah. The what I think is like from what you said
Mm-hmm.
about the depression and the suicidal thoughts. The suicidal thoughts, I've been having them for years.
Yeah.
They're nonstop, every day, nonstop. But I just like keep going through, even though when like I'm smiling less, laughing less, being
Mm.
happy less. It
Yeah.
just feels like it's killing my emotions slowly.
Yeah. And that this imagery you've got in your dream is a fantastic representation of how if we say children of the sun and moon are the suicidal thoughts, bam, and they want to destroy the world, and they want to destroy you. You are the world, and they're laying this waste and they're killing the people. And there's something in there too. You describe them as the corpses, even though they're mangled, they're peaceful. Their problems are over. They're dead.
Yeah,
One thing I like to tell folks about depression is that, or suicidal thoughts, is that they are not necessarily illogical. There's a logic to it. We were talking about putting your hand in a fire and the pain builds until you can't take it anymore and you pull your hand out. Suicide is kind of like pulling your hand out of the fire. Life is the fire. And when the pain gets bad enough, some people say, I'd rather be dead than feel this pain. That's a very logical choice. The pain will never stop. I have to
exactly.
stop the pain. Therefore, if my life is over, no more pain. Hey, good to go. So the only flaw in that logic is the assumption that the pain will never stop or can never be fixed or can never be decreased. That isn't always true. Sometimes it is. Sometimes life is really hard and really tough, and we suffer horribly, all of us, to varying degrees. So anyway, the choice makes sense, even if you say maybe we shouldn't do that, or it's not a good idea, or there's another path.
Yeah, for me, like, so when I want to push down my suicidal thoughts, I would think about, oh, even if I go through with it, what will happen to my parents, my brothers, my family, my friends,
Yeah,
people who are close to me? they will feel even more pain.
Yeah.
Why would I cause them even more pain because of me?
Yeah.
I would just
Yeah.
continue living with it till it's done. Maybe it will be a better future.
Yeah, for sure. Holding out hope. Hope is a big thing. Just take rolling back a little bit and taking a slightly different take on the progression of the dreams is you. So the first one, the older time place, saw a Colosseum, peaceful, smelled like flowers. This may represent you in your childhood, just being a happy kid. Maybe that's one idea. And if we follow that, the crucifixion motif may have been that may actually be you contemplating your own death and it being a choice. You can crucify Jesus, you can crucify yourself by committing suicide or not, and that may have represented looking at, if I do this, it will break the world. The horns will sound, the sky will crack, everything's over, and literally your life is over. And then the third dream, what does
The fallout
the future look
after.
like afterwards? It destroys the world. These self-righteous children of the sun and moon that represent my suicidal urges will just destroy the world around me after I'm gone, and leave corpses metaphorically everywhere, and destruction in my wake. How does that feel when you think about it that way?
It feels like the crucifixion part. It doesn't feel like I'm that important to be crucified like that,
Sure.
but it's like uh, what I felt like it's like something important inside of me died,
Gotcha.
and uh, things went south after that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense too. It's just, I like looking at things from different angles, and sometimes one makes more sense
Yeah.
than the other. But I think the way you characterize is very important and actually fits with what I was, kind of what I was going for is, this idea that, some part of you represented by Jesus in that imagery, or the death of Jesus, is like this terrible event that has consequences. Yeah. I think that's kind of what we're looking at. But then kind of the third part of like the fallout of the terrible event being a broken world left behind.
Yeah, that's why I said it's a fallout,
Mhm.
because the second dream it's happened like a month after my grandma passed away.
Yeah.
So that like one last shred of hope just like is
Yeah.
gone. And the fallout is like my suicidal urges are and thoughts are coming swooping up.
Yeah. And it would make it
That's how it
worse. Yeah.
felt like.
One thing that helps people cope and survive is family support or other support networks that keep us inspired, give us people to turn to when we're having negative thoughts, or when we need help solving a problem. And knocking out those supports is like taking the legs off a table. It can't stay up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm actually thankful that I actually had people to fall down on.
Yeah.
My parents, my brothers, my family, and my friends worldwide.
That is good. Yeah.
I'm thankful for that.
One thing I wanted to ask you is, do you have a local mosque? Are you involved in a local community?
No, but I'm a solo prayer.
Okay.
Uh, it's uh, it's how do I say it? It's easier for me
Sure.
to pray alone, and I can take my time without rushing.
Gotcha.
I can uh, without making any mistakes by accident,
Sure.
or maybe the person who is praying with us prays faster, and you can't enjoy the prayer.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, there's two different things working there. Is one is the method, the style that is best for you, how you feel most satisfied with the experience, and you feel you're doing it correctly for you. The other side of it is having community support, a community of people that you belong with, and that can also lend you extra support. So maybe because of your particular style of religious practice, that is, joining a mosque is not going to provide that. It'll be more stressful than helpful.
Yeah.
But I would definitely, so I'm getting around to kind of what do you do with suicidal thoughts, and because I want to be helpful in that regard too. By the way, for people watching in my about section on the webpage, there's the in America, the National Suicide Hotline, the National Alliance on the Mentally Ill. You can go there if anyone's having suicidal thoughts and depression and you don't know what to do about it.
Please talk to someone.
Talk to someone, anyone. Tell them how you're feeling. Get the ball rolling, and don't be ashamed of it. I've been on medication for.
Don't be ashamed.
Yeah, I've been on medication for depression and anxiety for like 10, 15 years now. It's just the way it is. And I also wanted to ask you about that too. Have you consulted any medical professionals? Is that a path you're comfortable with or allowed to under your religious restrictions? I don't know for sure.
It's allowed in my religion, but it didn't feel safe with me because the medication that they would give me might change me to the worse.
Fair enough.
The withdrawals. That's what I'm scared of.
And these are reasonable concerns. In some ways, you're not going to know unless you try. So if it ever came down to the idea that you're gonna kill yourself, you're gonna die, or you're gonna try a medication and you don't know if it's gonna work, I would give it a try. So if anything ever got that bad, I would definitely go see a doctor. Just some general advice in terms of seeking medical care. I would say, unless you are actually planning something, you want to be sure to tell the professional, look, I have these thoughts. I'm not going to act on them. I'm not in immediate danger, but I want these thoughts to stop. That's what I'm here for. If you go and tell them, I want to kill myself, I'm going to do it, then you might get committed to a hospital. And some people should be temporarily admitted for observation because they are legitimately at risk of following through. Most people, they just want help to make the thoughts stop. They're not in immediate danger. They're not going to act on them, but they're not pleasant and they're a major disruption to your life. So be sure if you talk to a doctor, you draw that distinction. Yes, I have these thoughts. No, I'm not going to act on them. And then that helps them determine what specific help is best.
I will do that because they're currently just thoughts.
Yeah.
And every time these thoughts are gets worse and worse, I would ask for help from friends or call my therapist for help.
Yeah, that's good. At least you got someone you can talk to. That's a big deal, especially a therapist. A lot of times there's medicational stuff, and that sometimes that's the only thing that works. But for most people, there are definitely, just like life events can cause us pain, we can also take action within life to fix problems. Yeah, so there's behavioral changes maybe we make in our lives where you're not happy at a job. Go work a different job. Maybe then your life gets better because now you're happier doing a different kind of work. If you're just miserable because of your situation, change the situation. Maybe the miserable stops and now you feel better. You no longer feel such urges of being trapped, hopeless. Death is the only way out. So make those behavioral changes first if you can. And then sometimes there's no cause. Like with depression, it's really weird. There's clinical depression, biological, chemical depression is my life should be great by all accounts. I got money, I got friends, I got relationships, I got all the material things I need. I'm healthy as a horse. People love me and I'm miserable. That makes no sense. That's like real clinical depression. And that's what was going on with me, where like I made all the life changes I could to get better, to change my life for the better. And then I got to a point where I should feel like things are pretty good, and I don't. I just hate it. I hate it all. I don't want to do any of this. And so I went to see a doctor, and I got on the meds, and I'm like, hey, life's okay. This is okay. I can do this. So for me, that was a big difference, and I hope anyone needs it gets exactly that kind of help.
Yeah, please
For
get
sure.
help.
Yeah.
It's not shameful. It's not as bad as you think.
Hmm.
If you need immediate help, just contact them.
For sure.
They won't shame you.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah.
Believe me.
Medical professionals really good about that stuff. Well, coming back to the dream itself, do you feel like we figured out some important things? Is there any elements that you think we didn't talk about or understand as well as we should?
No, actually, to be honest, that felt 100% like a satisfying answer.
Very good.
Like what we're talking about.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you being here to share it with us. I think it took us to a very important place, and I hope that people listening get something important out of it and get the hope and the motivation they need to look at themselves and their situation and do positive things about it. So, why don't we do this? Why don't I'll wrap it up and we'll talk for a few minutes afterwards. And in the meantime, I'll just say to people, hey, thanks again for joining us for another episode of Dreamscapes. Thanks to our guest Gunnar for taking us along on this journey, and we'll see y'all next time.